AFR On Demand is brought to you by Breck Golf. Try Beaver Creek today, just 20 minutes from downtown Baton Rouge in the Zachary area. They've got a PGA Tour driving range, a short game practice area, 30 to 40-yard practice shots. It's a great place to chip and putt and practice if you don't have time for a full round. Book your tee time today, golf.breck.org, golf.breck.org.
Matt Moscona.
I'm very important.
After further review.
Say it one more time.
After further review with Matt Moscona.
And here we go.
Live from the Mercedes-Benz of Baton Rouge studio.
Let's ride! Go!
Hour 2, off we go. Welcome aboard. Glad you're with us. It's AFR, presented by Goodwood and Sexual Wellness. I'm Matt.
This is Shaq O'Neal, and I hate Matt.
Paul O'Neal.
They're chanting Paul O'Neal's name.
Muso. And Mr. Toby Tom Plate. All right, we're here. Glad you are as well. Get out there and make it a good one. Kat Terrell in about 13 minutes from right now. She was at Saints camp today. She'll be here in just a smidge to tell us what she saw and what we need to know. One of the topics, and we're like all football today. I spent the first half of hour 1 going through my notes from day 1 of LSU camp. If you missed that, you can catch it on demand. Of course, AFR On Demand presented by Breck Golf. It'll be on podcast or YouTube. Just search AFR LSU. Podcast or YouTube, just search AFR LSU, and you'll see it there. One of the things that over the next month is going to be very significant in the world of college football is deciding what the future playoff format will be. Do they go to 16? If the answer is yes, what is the format? Is it the 4-4-2-2, 1-1-1-1-1-11-9er model? Is it the 5-11, 5 auto bids, the 11 at large? Maybe something really cool we haven't even seen yet. I don't know. Or do they just stay at 12 teams, which are all options? And we're starting to see everybody, throughout media days, this was a very common talking point among all the conference commissioners, is them effectively throwing their hat in the ring for what they are lobbying for. Tony Petitti, the Big Ten, they want the 4-4-1, 4-4-2-2-1, blah, 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 where the SEC and the Big Ten are guaranteed 4, ACC Big 12 guaranteed 2, and then you'll have 3 at-large spots. That's what the Big Ten wants. They've even thrown out that cockamamie scheme where not only do you get the 4 at-large, the 4 automatic bids, like for the Big Ten, the SEC, but they would play in for those spots. Like 1 and 2 would be in, 3 would play 6, 4 would play 5 to play in for the final 2 spots. Like they're trying to get tons of teams involved in for those spots. Greg Sankey has talked about this was at SEC Media Days. Greg Sankey talking about his opinion for what the SEC wants on expansion.
So I'm on record of participating in a decision process that 12 was the right direction. I've always been a fan of there are no allocations. Like take the top 8 back in 2019 when people were talking about expanding. Take the top 12. I was an advocate for that. And I could take the top 14, top 16. We have agreed, and I think last week there was some misunderstanding communicated about a memorandum of understanding. So in that memorandum of understanding, the top 5 conference champions have a role. Unless you're going to go tear up the MOU, which maybe some other people want to do because of their concerns about the decision-making authority, but unless people want to tear it up, we're going to have 5+7, 5+9, 5+11.
Greg Sankey, in no uncertain terms, is saying, like, the 5 auto bids is where we're staying. But Tony Petitti has been very adamant that he wants to to expand that to where, and by the way, the 5 auto bids means the one per conference. The Power 4 and then a G5. You'd have the top 5 conference champions, then 11 at-large bids. The Big Ten wants a different model. The problem here is the SEC and the Big Ten have to agree. I mean, in my long sit-down conversation for nearly 20 minutes with Greg Sankey Media Days, I asked him his question. He kind of elaborated on it, but effectively, the SEC and the Big Ten, like, they hold all the cards together, and they have to be in agreement to move forward, because if they don't agree, if the SEC and the Big Ten don't agree, there is no deal to be done, because college football is not moving forward without the SEC, and college football is not moving forward without the Big Ten. So they have to see eye to eye, but right now you have the commissioners of those two leagues that do not see eye to eye. So, and both have said they feel like they're on very solid footing. The Big Ten's won the last 2 national championships, but Greg Sankey said, we feel like we got a strong hand that we're holding. So it's this real weird impasse. But ultimately, all these leagues are going to have a vote, including the Notre Dame athletic director, as you'll have the 10 FBS conference commissioners and Notre Dame athletic director Pete Bevacqua. So Pete Bevacqua tells The Athletic in an interview that he is against the idea for the Big Ten and the SEC getting more auto bids to a 16-team playoff. He is against the Big Ten's proposal. He is in line with the SEC, the 5+11 model. So you're starting to line up a lot of these decision makers who are siding with Greg Sankey, the 5+11. But ultimately, it makes sense why Notre Dame wants the 5+11, because that's 5 conference champs and then 11 at-large spots. Remember, Notre Dame's not in a conference. You know this. But if they go to the 4-4-2-2-1-1-1 model, that means there's only 3 at-large spots. You'd have 4 from the SEC, 4 from the Big Ten, 2 from the ACC, 2 from the Big 12, and then 3 at-large spots. Notre Dame would have to be one of 3 at-large spots. In the 5-11, Notre Dame would have to be one of 11 at-large spots. There's a much greater chance of Notre Dame having access to the playoff in a 5-11 as opposed to a 4-4-2-2-1-1-1. So, again, this isn't about what's best for college football. This is every conference administrator looking for what's best for my conference and the schools I represent. That is the inherent problem we have always had with college football, by the way. And I don't need to go on a rant. You all know how I feel about this. But it is ultimately the problem, because you don't have one singular entity. You have 10 different entities with a commissioner all lobbying for their school's best interests. It's not like the 32 NFL owners that all have a very common goal because they all share in the same pot of revenue. And it doesn't matter if you're the Dallas Cowboys, the New Orleans Saints, the Jacksonville Jaguars, the Buffalo Bills, the Green Bay Packers. All of that revenue is shared among the owners. It's one NFL. In college, the SEC makes more money. The Big Ten makes more money. The ACC is less. The Big 12 is less. They're all competing against each other in theory, but it's not equal. So everybody is looking out for their own best interest, not the least of which is Notre Dame, which chooses to remain independent. So I think the real question here is 2 parts. One is, does ultimately the weight of the SEC, Notre Dame, and all the other leagues going against the Big Ten force the Big Ten to their side of the equation so that college football can have progress, or does the Big Ten stand at an impasse and we just stay at 12? That's one thing that could happen. That's one thing worth watching. The other is, be careful what you wish for. So I said this a year ago. When everybody last year, the beautiful thing about the digital era, everything's recorded. As we're expanding the playoff and everyone's making predictions, the SEC is going to get 5, 6, 7, is the SEC going to get 7 teams? It's like, y'all, look at history. So I went back and looked at every year dating back to 2014, the first year of the 14 playoff, and said, all right, still a committee, same thing. And if we had just exactly like we have now, and you go to the penultimate rankings, like before the championship, before the playoff started, how many SEC teams would have gotten in? It was like 2 years. They would have gotten 3. 2 years, or the majority of the, or more than 3. Most of the years have been 3. 1 year they got 2. So I said, be careful what you wish for. Like, it's not like you're just automatically going to be gifted these spots because our perception is the SEC is awesome. I mean, the results are what they are. I mean, just for instance, if you were to expand this, I'll do this exercise again. If you were to expand to 16, in 2024, the SEC would have gotten 6 teams. Now, keep in mind, that was the first year of the expanded SEC with Texas and OU. But in 2024, you would have gotten 6. In 2023, you would have gotten 5. In 2022, you would have gotten 3. In 2021, you would have gotten 3. In 2020, you would have gotten 4. 2019, you would have gotten 5. Do you understand my point? Like, if you just think, expand it to 16 and have 11 at-large spots because the SEC is going to make up half the field, Jack, no, they're not. The past decade, go back a decade, that hasn't happened. Like, you're more likely to get less than 5 than you are. It's happened one time you would have gotten more than 5, and it was this most recent year. So I think the Big Ten actually has a little bit of an idea. Guarantee yourself the 4 spots. Now, I don't think this is what's best for college football, to be honest. I think we should have no guaranteed spots at all for anything. It should just be the 16 top teams that get into a playoff where one plays 16 and so on. I think we should do 32, but we got to 4. We might get to 16. I won't get greedy. We'll get there eventually. But I do think what would be best is for college football is more at large spots. Have it be an actual meritocracy. But from the SEC's very selfish perspective, history tells you don't want more at large. You want your guaranteed spots, get your 4 guaranteed, and then you still got 3 at large spots on the back end, and maybe you get 1, 2, or all 3 of those. Who knows? But you let that play itself out. But Notre Dame, they've drawn their line in the sand, or at least tossed their hat in the ring, and they're siding with the 5+11 model, which should come as no surprise. As this evolves and develops, we'll certainly keep you posted. We're brought to you by Evamore, EVA-MOR. Being out at the Ponderosa today when it was 100 degrees at 10 in the morning. I'm not complaining, by the way. Certainly helpful. Down a big old bottle of Evamore before I went out there and got this big 64-ounce bottle for after. Better stay hydrated, y'all. It's hot outside. Make sure you have plenty of Evamore. It's a better form of hydration, and it's a natural artesian water. It's a Louisiana product. The well is on the north shore of Lake Pontchartrain in Covington. The bottling facility is built right around the well. Like when you turn off the main road into the facility, you see the well right there. As you drive up to the facility, they pipe the water out. The only thing that's filtered out is the sediment from the ground, goes right into the bottle, never touches air until you take the first delicious sip. This is true natural hydration. Check it out. EVA-MOR, Evamore.com, Evamore.com. All right, Saints are back on the practice field earlier today. Kat Terrell was there. She'll join us next. We're brought to you by Goodwood Men's Sexual Wellness. Visit yourgoodwood.com. Stay here.
AFR.
Our friends over at Action Industries do amazing work. You know this if you work in the plants. There are 2 things that are absolute must prerequisites. Like, you do not get hired inside the fence if you don't have a great safety record and you do great work. Action Industries, their safety record beats the industry standard. And when you rely on repeat business, you have to do great work to get rehired. Well, Action Industries has been around since 1982, 43 years, because they do exemplary work. Listen, sometimes maybe you feel like your job isn't prioritized at Action Industries. You get their absolute best. Sometimes maybe you have a mega project going on, and some of the mega contractors are short on numbers. Action can actually help supplement that workforce. Check them out today. It's Action Industries. They're a proud partner of LSU Athletics.
After further review, presented by Goodwood Men's Sexual Wellness. Visit yourgoodwood.com.
Saints are back on the practice field in full pads on Wednesday. Kat Terrell was there. Of course, ESPN.com, NFL Nation reporter covering the Saints. Good enough to hang out with us for a couple of minutes. Hey, Kat, how are you?
I'm doing good. I'm trying to power through training camp, but I'm doing okay.
Well, it's interesting when you get to the point where the initial excitement of training camp sort of wanes and you get into the monotonous grind, and I think that it's very clearly something every coach wants to do to prepare their team for the season. It's been an ease into camp, as best I can tell from a distance. Are they still in that phase, Kat, right now, or are they starting to crank up intensity?
Yeah, I definitely noticed that they've cranked up the intensity the last few days, but I think that just comes with putting the pads on. You know, it changes things. I do think it's definitely a different type of training camp than I've seen in the past because there's so much focus on recovery and preventing injuries that it's kind of like you said, it has felt like a slower start, but the players seem to love that.
Sure.
I'm not surprised they love it, but, you know, Gotcha, I was talking about it yesterday, and he's a 9-year vet and said this is the best training camp I've been a part of. So I guess what I'm trying to say is Moore seems to know how to keep the players happy so far, and that'll get them far through camp. But, I mean, it's got to be hard. There's just, like, no really getting around the dog days of summer.
Kat, and it's fair to mention, like, Kat, aside from covering the Saints, like, you also spent time covering the Cincinnati Bengals. You've covered training camp practices, joint practices throughout. Can you speak to what you perceive to be the value of, like, the hard, like, grind training camp and how other teams do it, maybe, like, to take it a little easier? Like, if there is a benefit or not to how you structure camp?
It's hard to say, honestly, because I do think that there was a time and place for these really, really hard camps and two-a-days and full pads and making the team tougher. Obviously, the 2006 Saints are a great example of that. I'm sure most of them will tell you that 2006 camp was the hardest thing they ever went through. But you can't do that anymore. So when you have to swing so far the other direction because of the CBA and because of NFL rules, it kind of makes sense that you would try something different. They're really into sports science. I'm sure you've heard about this. I'm sure you've talked about it on the radio a lot. And so I think Kellen Moore is kind of following what Ted Rath tells him or advises him to do in terms of recovery. But I get it for this team because they were one of the most injury-bitten teams in the league last year. And so it makes sense that they would be all out on how do we prevent that from ever happening again.
Yeah.
And then we'll see. I mean, we'll see the results, I guess, in a few months because truth be told, like, there's some injuries you just can't prevent. Some of it's just luck. So I truly don't know if this is going to help or in a few months if we're going to be thinking, well, maybe they should have had more reps in camp, you know?
She's on Twitter at @Kat_Terrell. Give her a follow. Kat, is there a little more than a week now, is there a position group you think that appears maybe to have solidified themselves as the strongest unit on this team?
Oh, that's a really good question. I feel like I've been so quarterback focused.
Yeah.
It's hard to even give you an answer. I think, I mean, this is not an answer to the question. I think there have been a lot of impressive moments from the defensive line the last few days, which is a positive because that is not a position I would say I feel is the strongest on the team. There's a lot of concerns about that one for me, so that's kind of a pleasant surprise. I think the offensive line has quietly been consistent and gelled together, which they need to do. I know I'm just going through positions because this team, there's really no standout position. It used to be years ago, the offensive line for sure, but they can't say that anymore. So that's a tough one. I don't think there's really a standout yet.
Let me ask you a specific position group then. Let me ask you about receiver because I feel like I see a lot of highlights from Rashid Shaheed and Chris Olave's back, two guys that were injured and missed the bulk of last year, and that was a giant weakness a season ago because of the injuries. How do you think guys like Olave and Shaheed and the rest of that group, and who else has stood out after those guys so far?
I mean, it's really just them, and then Brandon Cooks is the third guy, right? And he has his own injury issues that he's dealt with. So I'm not going to lie and say that's not concerning for that position. I do think it's concerning. And I do think there are real questions about how Olave and Shaheed will hold up during the season. I mean, I know Shaheed said he put on weight. That I feel like I'm just being negative, but then that kind of automatically raises the question in your mind, okay, if you put on weight, are you purposely, obviously, are you the same receiver you were last year?
Sure.
I think he looks very good so far. There actually was a good moment in camp, coming from someone who had been hurt last year. He caught a pass from Tyler Shuck. It was kind of a high pass near the sideline. He just got whacked immediately and fell over. And the wide receivers coach immediately was like, that's why he has pads on. I mean, he popped back up, and it was all fine. Don't know if that's necessarily what you want to see in camp. One of your most valuable players getting sent to the ground. But, the fact that he popped back up and it was like, okay, he's good. And he also, I think he had a tough catch later on that same practice. So, if those two can stay healthy, then I think it's not a concern. But, that's so many ifs, right?
Kat, it's interesting because you're right. So much of the conversation is around quarterback, and I totally understand that. And even the offensive line, because you have so much draft capital invested there. But like my eyes shift toward things like cornerback, where that was so solidified for so long. Like you knew Lattimore and Adebo, and like those guys were there, and it was locked in. And you drafted Alontae Taylor. Now all those guys are gone, and it's like, is it Kool-Aid McKinstry and question mark? Like, have we learned anything about the cornerbacks yet?
It's McKinstry. It's Isaac Yiadom. It's Alontae Taylor. I mean, that's probably your three guys right there. I think the rookie, Quincy O'Reilly, has made a lot of nice plays. That's not, that means he's going to go into the season and be great. But I do think he's caught my eye, so that is a positive. But I think with Taylor, he can be so good and also just so up and down. And part of that, I blame the coaching staff the last few years for moving him constantly. He was, the first few years of his career, he was always moving positions. And that's hard to get settled and really become good at what you're doing if you don't know what you're doing from week to week. So I think that, the guy's really talented. And, if he lives up to his potential and so is McKinstry, then it's kind of the same thing I was saying as the receivers. Like, then they'll be okay. But, there are some ifs there. But I do like the addition of Justin Reed. I do think that was a good addition. And so it seems like quietly people haven't been talking about the safeties that much, surprisingly, since Matthew retired.
Well, there's Reed, and they also added Blackman, who I think is he
was hurt last year.
Is he like a plug-and-play starter opposite Justin Reed? I mean, is that settled, like those two guys are going to be your starters?
Yeah, I absolutely think Blackman's going to be starting next to him.
Okay.
He talked to us the other day and said, like, yeah, I didn't have a great year last year. He was hurt. And Brandon Staley has been wanting to sign this guy forever. Also, oh my gosh, I keep getting worried that I'm going to say like Justin instead of Julian because of Justin Reed right next to him. So if I do say that, please correct me. It's my training camp brain.
It's all good.
That is not all there right now.
I just chart numbers. I just chart numbers, Kat. I'm jotting jersey numbers down.
You're like Sean Payton.
Yeah,
he needed to be told the number at this time of the year.
86 made a nice play. That's it, really.
Yes. Sometimes he'd be like, can you give me that number, please? Because he just said the name. Yeah. Sometimes when he tried to act like he knew who you were talking about, and that was even worse. Just keep a track of 90 guys. It makes for some funny moments during camp. Ask
Sean Payton. With Saints will play the Broncos in the third preseason game. Pop into that press conference. Say, Sean, what'd you think about 72 today? How did he do? Just drop a number on him. See what he says.
Let's just pop in. Just ask about an injury. He probably kicked me out.
That would be a perfect dismount, but I got one more question. Okay, special teams. I know they hosted some punters. Burnip seems to be booming the ball. Is this an open competition? Are they not settled there at the specialists?
I think it's an open competition at punter, but I honestly think Groupie has already kind of solidified that he's the guy at kicker. I don't know if Smith is in a sophomore slump or what, but Groupie has looked really good. As far as the punters, Moore said they just worked him out just to have a list, but you never know with coaches. So if you take him at his word, then they're just working him out just to see what the guys around the league were like. But as far as kicker goes, I mean, Smith has missed 7 kicks, I think, and Groovy's missed one. So pretty good start for his training camp.
She's Kat Terrell. She's just doing her job, Sean. At Kat_Terrell is where you can.
That's a good callback.
I was telling Moose, I was like, I'm trying to find the audio. Anyway, see if we'll see if we can find it. It's a classic moment. Kat Terrell, follow her on Twitter, read her stuff over at ESPN.com. Kat, we appreciate it. Thank you.
Yeah, anytime.
All right, be well. It is After Further Review. We're brought to you by Relief Windows and ReliefWindows.com. Windows door siding, oh yeah, they do shutters as well. Relief Windows and ReliefWindows.com. It's funny, I'll hear a lot of times about companies that offer a lifetime warranty. And I always think this to myself. If you've been in business for a year, 2 years, like, what does a lifetime warranty actually mean? Like, is your company going to be around long enough to honor that lifetime warranty? Well, with Relief Windows, you don't have to worry about that. Because for 2 decades, they've stood by their word. They've grown and been a leader, not only in Baton Rouge, but all across Louisiana and the entire Gulf South. Like, Brandon and his team do amazing work. West into Texas, all the way east. They've done apartment complexes in Georgia and Atlanta and Tallahassee, Florida, and all along the Gulf South. It's Relief Windows, where, yes, they do offer a true lifetime transferable warranty on labor, material, and glass breakage. So you buy your windows once and you are done. It's not one of those things where another 5-7 years you're doing this process again. And of course, their customer service is exceptional. It's Relief Windows and ReliefWindows.com. Windows, door siding, Relief Windows and ReliefWindows.com. You got it? Hit it.
I'm not going to discuss injuries. Maybe they did in Cincinnati, but we don't do that here.
Doing my job, Sean.
I am too.
Oh, man. Sean is such a jerk. Like, you have to ask the question. If you don't ask the question, you are not doing your job. So Kat is right. Yes. And you can say you're just defending the. Yes, I am. And it's within the coach's right not to answer the question. He'll have to put out an injury list when the time has come. But you are being negligent as a reporter if you are not asking the most relevant questions about injured players. Yeah, Sean Payne's just a jerk about it. See, he throws a Cincinnati jab at her. What?
I'm not going to discuss injuries. Maybe they did in Cincinnati, but we don't do that here.
Doing my job, Sean.
Oh, man.
I am too.
What an a-hole.
That was a low blow, man.
All right. It's After Further Review. We'll knock out a quick break and continue. Stick around.
AFR.
We're brought to you by River City's 1 Hour Air, where they're always on time, where you don't pay a dime. 752-0001, 752-0001, 752-0001. I want to share this with you. I got a text. I told you this, following up on the story. Got a text yesterday from a gentleman named Terry who said, Matt, who's your go-to for AC service? I said, it's River City's 1 Hour Air. Call them. They're the best. He texted me back this morning at 8:57 a.m. River City came out last night to help with my AC. I couldn't get the company I have a contract with to respond that fast. Even though they couldn't fix the unit, they gave it a good effort, met with Joseph this morning, and they're replacing the existing unit today. River City's 1 Hour Air. You want a better customer service experience? You want them there promptly, the job done right the first time? River City's 1 Hour Air. 752-0001. 752-0001, where they're always on time or you don't pay a dime.
After Further Review, presented by Goodwood Men's Sexual Wellness. Visit yourgoodwood.com.
Tomorrow, we will be live at Court to Table. Excited about that. That's Gordon McKernan's new spot. I should say he's one of the partners in Court to Table. It's a pickleball concept. I don't play pickleball. If you do, awesome. I know a lot of people. I was actually talking to Michael Bonnet earlier today over at LSU practice. He plays a good bit. And when you drive up, there's a big sort of breezeway through the middle. So the facility is kind of separated in two. When you go in under the big archway, to the right are all the pickleball courts. To the left is the restaurant and the bar. We'll be in the pickle bar, as they call it, for AFR tomorrow, and then we're going to stay for the Hall of Fame game. my goodness, y'all. The first NFL preseason game is tomorrow, Hall of Fame game. Chargers, Bears, but that's really insignificant who's playing. It's a chance to watch professional football players in uniform doing football things. And we'll be at Court's Table. So if you haven't checked it out yet, I'm telling you, man, it would really, 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 like, I really think that's going to become your new favorite place to watch football. When you go in, there's a great indoor-outdoor vibe to it, and it's great for the whole family. And there are TVs everywhere. They have like the big TV that's like the giant 4 TVs that are all, can make one screen, or they're each individual things. And everywhere you look, there's TVs. There's the U-shaped bar with TVs all around it. Draft beer. Go get you some ice cold Bud Lights. The food menu's been great. So Ozzie Fernandez, of the Go Eat restaurants, if you're familiar with Izzo's and Modesto and a lot of those restaurants, they've curated a great menu. I mean, everything I've had has been fantastic. I mean, I've had fish tacos, I've had steak dish there. We've had the hummus and guacamole and queso, and it's just everything I've had has been really good. So I'm excited to go there tomorrow. Excited to maybe introduce a lot of you all to Court to Table tomorrow. So come on by. Come by for AFR. Even if you just come by to drink one beer and say hello, that's awesome. If you want to come by and have dinner with your family, awesome. If you want to come by, play pickleball, awesome. If you want to come by and just watch some or part of the Hall of Fame game with us, awesome. Love to see y'all there at Court to Table again tomorrow, Thursday, for AFR from 3 to 6, and then we'll hang out for the Hall of Fame game after. I'm telling you, it's going to be your new favorite place to watch football. If you haven't been yet, you'll walk in, you'll go, this is going to be an awesome spot for football Saturdays and Sundays, Sunday ticket, all that sort of stuff. All right, it's after further review. I'm glad to have you aboard with us here. LSU was on the practice field today for the first time in fall camp, and they only worked out for about an hour and 15 minutes. And I asked Brian Kelly, after practice, Brian Kelly had media availability, and I asked him why it was such a short practice on this first day.
I think this is all about acclimatization, right? We're going to have 7 days where you have to acclimatize your football team. So we felt like the data that we have compiled over the last 3 years relative to short-term soft tissue injuries, we wanted to be able to increase the player load each and every day. We'll go from 12 to 16 to 18 to 20. We'll go 4 days. We'll have a day off. We'll go 3 days and have a day off. So within that first 7 is the highest incident for soft tissue injuries. We want to make sure that we get through these 7 days acclimatized without any soft tissue injuries and 2 recovery days. So then we can get into really 2 weeks of camp and, obviously game week prep. We'll have 3 weeks to duplicate our process.
2 things. Number one, I learned the word acclimatize today. When he was saying acclimatize, I'm like, do you mean acclimate? But no, acclimatize is actually a word. I've always, I feel like we always say acclimate, but acclimatize is a word. So remember when Roger Clemens got popped for PEDs and he swore it was B12 shots, and the guy that was telling on him, he said, I think so-and-so misremembers. Do you remember that? Like, it was a famous interview where Roger Clemens kept saying over and over, I think he misremembers. And people are like, is Roger making up a word? Like, is misremember? And now we all say it because I'll be damned. Like, it's misremember is actually words. It is proper English to say you misremember. Anyway, I learned acclimatize today, which is awesome. Throw that one into the dictionary, in the verbal dictionary. But I do like very much that approach. And LSU has done a good job of staying healthy, largely. There are things in football that just suck. Like, Jordan Gilbert separating his shoulder just sucks. That's bad luck. Whit Weeks getting caught in a pile and breaking his foot sucks. Like, there's just nothing. It is a physical collision sport. You can't do anything about it. With the Saints, Kendre Miller pulling his hamstring in the first day, the first team drill last year in Saints camp, like, you did a bad job preparing yourself. Like, you were not stretched, hydrated, all the things you're supposed to be doing to take care of your body. So there is a difference. So you hear Brian Kelly, they're very clearly talking about soft tissue. And they know, like their research shows, the propensity of soft tissue injuries is much greater in the first 7 days. So what they're doing is they're going from 12 periods to 14 periods or 16 periods to 18 periods to 10, 20 periods. So they're going to sort of stair-step their way up, starting the practice inside, then moving outside, trying to keep their guys healthy and fresh. I told this to Michael Cobble after practice, and it was weird. I was walking in today. This is my 19th LSU fall camp. Like, I had to kind of just, like, stop for a second. It was a little jarring. And I understand a lot of people have been fans for years. I have my whole life and all that, but 19 fall. I've done this 19 fall camps. And there's people, Scott Rabelais, Buddy Sanji, some of the people who've been around, Cobble, Jacques, been around longer than I have. But I've been around a long time now. And I was just thinking back to the way this was under Les Miles. And I made a joke to Cobble. I was like, man, how about like Les Miles grinding these dudes into dust in two-a-days in like the first week? And it's just a different mindset altogether. And I don't know if it's good or bad. I don't. Because there's two ways to look at it. Number one, I mean, you can go old Junction Boys style, right? Where like dudes are having heat stroke and they're laying them in bed on beds of ice to get their body. Like, that's not good. That's really bad. That's a bad idea. And then there's something to be said for if you're too easy on them, are you actually preparing a team for a 12-game gauntlet, 60 minutes, all that you're going to, like the physical toll that you're going to place on your body to get through there? So you got to be prepared mentally for those tough days and those tough games and grinding through it. But you also have to be physically healthy enough to get there. So how do you appropriately stair-step your way up toward that? I think that's what they're dealing with right now. That's what they're working through right now, is that component of it. And you heard Brian Kelly say it. We got 3 years worth of data. And look, Jack Marucci and his team have done an awesome job with all of that being on the cutting edge and the forefront of technology. I mean, you see those guys, all the guys wear what look like sports bras, but those are tracking systems to track their heart rate and their rest and their hydration and everything going on within them, so they know when they have maximum productivity. And so, it's so specialized now, and you have to trust that they know what they're doing. But more than anything, what you want to see is guys come through fall camp healthy. And I remember asking Brian Kelly this question 2 years ago at the end of fall camp. I think it was the first game week. And it was the Florida State game. It was the first game week. And I asked him, we were coming out of fall camp. Well, we could find it somewhere, but I said, this is, I think, the healthiest I've ever seen a team come out of fall camp. What do you attribute that to? And he went through all the same answers, similar to what he just gave. And then, of course, Mason Smith tore his ACL in the opener against Florida State. But so again, some of it with football is just stuff that you can't prevent. It's football, and there's going to be injuries. But I do think they're taking the right approach to make sure their guys stay fresh for a 12-game gauntlet. Because the last thing I think you want to do is go to Clemson having grinded these dudes into the ground, and they don't have their legs to go compete for 4 quarters to win that football game. I also like how he said the way that they've structured it with their off days is how they'll have camp, but effectively 3 weeks of their install. Because basically the way camp works is you get 2 weeks of like camp, and then you start like working on your game plan install, and then it's game week, right? That's typically how the 4 weeks go. It's 2 weeks of like camp, install for Clemson, and then game week. The way he kind of described the way they're going to go through it now is you're really going to have like 3 weeks of your game week process. And that'll be interesting, man. So much of this focus has been on 1-0 and being ready to go win that game. And I'll tell you, man, the offense day one was they looked, I know I hesitate to say it this way because what people are going to react like, they were as good today as the 23 offense was day one. And you had a fifth-year senior quarterback and really talented receivers and an offense that was ready to roll. And that offense was like that today. I mean, they were awesome today. Now, that defense that year was atrocious, but the defense today made some really good plays, both the ones and the twos. So I'm not going to overreact to one day of practice. I've done enough of these to know there's times you go out there in fall camp and dudes look like superstars and it never translates. And then the flip side is also true. Like if I go back and look at my notes from last year, I can pull my notebook and I would be stunned, fall over stunned, if I wrote down Caden Durham's name more than twice throughout the entirety of fall camp. And he ended up being your leading rusher. So sometimes there's things that don't show up in July and in the beginning of August that do show up when you get to September, October, November, which is why it's always fun to watch the evolution of a season. Like we also often say, teams are allowed to improve. Players are allowed to improve. It'll be fun to watch this team to see who among this group does that. All right, it's After Further Review. We are brought to you by Our Lady of the Lake. Speaking of all the health of these players, of course, when you're out at practice and you see the physicians and the training staff, that's Our Lady of the Lake. Of course, Our Lady of the Lake is part of the Franciscan Missionaries of Our Lady Health System. I'm really excited to be able to tell that story. People know about Our Lady of the Lake because they're the championship health partner of LSU Athletics. But Our Lady of the Lake is part of a bigger health system, a multi-state health system. And the sisters, the Franciscan Missionaries of Our Lady, have run that health system to service and to provide exceptional health care for not just elite athletes, but for you and me and our families, no matter what it is. If it's cancer services, if it's heart and stroke health, if it's pediatrics, they do all of it. I mean, I've told you my story. Of course, Drew, he's got specialists that he sees at Our Lady of the Lake Children's Hospital in Baton Rouge. My own physician is Dr. Curtis Chastain of the Our Lady of the Lake Men's Health Group. I was talking to Dr. Chastain. I had a medical issue with me personally, not a severe thing, but just something going on. I was on the phone with him on Sunday morning, this past Sunday morning. It's exceptional health care. It's Our Lady of the Lake, championship health care, the championship health partner of LSU Athletics. Our Lady of the Lake and LSU, together, we roar. All right, it's After Further Review. Ooh, we got to go. Quick break. Muso will do Tigers and the Pros to wrap up hour number 2 next.
After Further Review.
Y'all get on by and see our friends at Clegg's Nursery. I know a little inclement weather in the area right now, but that might cool things off. Might be a great opportunity when the weather passes to get on by and see our friends over at Clegg's. Y'all, Clegg's been doing it for 60 years, man. 6 decades, Clegg's Nursery. Started from selling flowers in the back of a flatbed truck now to being the largest garden center in the state of Louisiana. It's Clegg's Nursery. Get by any of the 4 locations. Seagan, near Airline, LA 16 in Denham, Mid-City on Donmore, and the Garden Center on Greenwell Springs. If you know where that is on Greenwell Springs, like if you're leaving Central heading toward downtown Baton Rouge, like you're on Greenwell Springs Road, like right when you pass the thank you for, or welcome to Central sign, it's immediately on the right. You can't miss it. It's Clegg's Nursery. Hey, they also have everything you need to keep those unwanted pests away. If you got mosquitoes, get rid of them with the Aeon Mosquito Barrier. You got anthills popping up. You got wasps or other unwanted pests that you want to keep away. Or maybe you want to invite some friendly creatures like hummingbird feeders or things like that. They got it at Clegg's Nursery.
After Further Review, presented by Goodwood Men's Sexual Wellness. Visit yourgoodwood.com.
Wrapping up hour number 2. Always appreciate Goodwood Men's Sexual Wellness. Lowest prices, never any contracts. Yourgoodwood.com. Yourgoodwood.com. Muso, Tigers of the Pros.
Tigers in the pros. They still bleed purple and gold. They're just really rich now.
We'll start with Alex Bregman, 20th double of the season a night ago in the game versus the Twins. He would also come around to score twice in that ball game. Jake Fraley, effective but abbreviated outing for him. 1 out of 1. It was a 2-run homer. He also drew a walk before being lifted for a pinch hitter. The home run was the 6th of the season. Cole Henry, short outing, but an important one in the Nationals game against the Astros. He was called upon to finish the 4th inning when the Nationals were hanging on to a lead. He did so, 2/3, punched out a guy as well. Josh Smith. 2 out of 4 for Smith a night ago. He would come around to score once in the ballgame. Both of those hits were singles. He's up to 277 on the season. Tommy White, told you yesterday he was called up to Double-A, made his debut a night ago for the Midland Rockhounds. 2 out of 5, both of those singles. He drove in 2, including the go-ahead RBI. Then the Rockhounds would never look back. He also came around to score. Gage Jump was on the bump for the Midland Rockhounds. He's the #1 prospect in the A's organization, by the way. 2 1/3, no earned runs, 4 strikeouts. The regular short was a healthy scratch, so abbreviated out in there for Jump. Angel Reese returned double-double, 22 and 13. That's Tigers in the pros.
Presented by Lee Michaels Fine Jewelry, lmfj.com, lmfj.com for Lee Michaels Fine Jewelry. So many amazing options. You can go to the website and make your appointment. If you want to make an appointment to meet with one of their knowledgeable client advisors, you can do it right now at Lee Michaels Fine Jewelry, lmfj.com. Scroll down on the homepage. You'll see it right there where you can go book that appointment. When you walk in, they'll greet you with some chocolates on a tray, a glass of cold beverage of your choice. And at Lee Michaels Fine Jewelry, they'll take great care of you. It should feel like you're doing something special and something important. They make that happen at Lee Michaels Fine Jewelry. lmfj.com, lmfj.com for Lee Michaels Fine Jewelry. Hour number 3 coming up right after SportsCenter.
After further review.
Sure. Our friends at First South Farm Credit have been helping Louisianians buy land for more than 100 years, since 1916. I love telling that story because the staying power speaks to credibility. 1916. Our friends at First South Farm Credit have lasted through 2 world wars, natural disasters, the Great Depression, economic upticks. Through all of it, steady, doing one thing. For more than 100 years, helping Louisianians buy land. So that's why I always say, if you're thinking of buying land, your first call should be to First South Farm Credit. So many people that own land or buy land already own land. So maybe you take some equity in land you currently have to buy that new piece of property. But whatever you do, make your first call, First South Farm Credit. FirstSouthland.com.